I support law enforcement. I support ICE whenever I can. I mean, I'm law enforcement 20 years, but I'm a dad too, and I have to be honest. And what ICE did in this case was despicable, and I need to talk about it. I'm Steve Loomis with Walking That Mile. So I'm going to start with something you have already seen me talk about, which is Alia Raman. She's the Bangladeshi American who is a computer programmer who was pulled out of the car back in January by ICE in Minneapolis because she was obstructing. She wouldn't get out of the car. She wouldn't get out of the way. She wouldn't stop blocking the intersection. She claims that she's autistic, and within a year of that incident, a year prior to that incident, she said that she received a traumatic brain injury, although she wouldn't discuss how she got that injury. She was actually allegedly on her way to her 39th appointment at the Hennepin County Traumatic Brain Injury Clinic. So, she did a bunch of interviews after that. I know you've seen the video. I'll play it in just a second here, a little bit of it. But she did a whole bunch of interviews. She did the media circuit. She did every interview that she possibly could, and her statement kind of changed, and her approach to the interviews changed as she did them. I guess as she probably got better at them. She got a lot of attention for this. She was actually Ilhan Omar from Minnesota. Her guest at the State of the Union address. She got kicked out of the State of the Union address because she stood up in protest at one point and made a big deal out of that, being, dragged out of there. And she testified before Congress. Now, I want to play a couple snippets of her testimony, and then I'm going to compare it with the situation that I say I have to call out, and that is despicable. So here is Alia Raman testifying before Congress.
Thank you, members, for taking time to be here today, and thank you, staff, for making this happen. My name is Alia Rahman, and I am a resident of South Minneapolis. I'm a Bangladeshi American, born in northern Wisconsin, and I'm a disabled person with autism and a traumatic brain injury. Not all autistic brains do this, but mine fixates on sounds, numbers, and patterns. And while what the world saw happen to me exactly 3 weeks ago today on video was a terrible violation, it is still nothing compared to the horrific practices I saw inside the Whipple Center.
Okay, her testimony keeps going here.
So I am here today with a duty to the people who have not had the privilege of coming home, and I offer this data because these practices must end now. On January 13th, on the way to my 39th appointment at Hennepin County's Traumatic Brain Injury Center, I encountered a traffic jam caused by ICE vehicles and no signs indicating how to get around it.
One more clip.
I had not wanted to pull into a blocked, chaotic intersection, but verbally agreed to do so and rolled down my window after an agent yelled, "Move! I will break your effing window!" His first instruction. Agents on all sides of my vehicle yelled conflicting threats and instructions that I could not process while watching for pedestrians.
Okay, so she said this every time, that she has autism, that she can't, if people are talking, if multiple people are talking, she can't identify who is talking. It just sounds like one big garbled mess. So I just want to show you just a little clip of that interaction from a cell phone video. Okay, so right there, you hear her specifically say, this person just said he'll break my window if I don't move my car. Now, the other thing she said was there was a blocked intersection. She had nowhere to go. If you saw at the end of that clip, she had wide open road that she could have gone down. But she chose not to because she had other plans that day. And I'm not going to get back into that. I did a whole video on this thing. But besides all that, what really stuck out to me is her first interview was with CNN. And she wasn't very practiced at this point. And so one of the points that got through was this right here.
But I want to be clear, you say you were not there to protest ICE. You were there on your way to an appointment and you stopped in the traffic and I got the conflicting reports and commands. Were you there to protest ICE? Had you ever protested ICE before in that arena?
No.
So when you went that day and you were detained.
So that's a pretty big deal to me. I mean, that's a pretty honest answer. And she does the whole eye roll thing. Like, this is kind of a joke. Like, I'm making a joke here, which means what? Leads one to believe that she was there to protest or had protested in the past, which we all know when we researched her that, yeah, I mean, she was definitely involved in this kind of stuff. So that's Alia, and I'll leave her at that. But what is so important for me is to call out these people who are, I think that she's lying. Okay, I think that she's lying about this. She may have autism, but she's the highest functioning person with autism that I've ever seen. She may have a traumatic brain injury, but the way that she's acting in a lot of this stuff leads me to believe otherwise. Okay. Also, she has a advanced degree, I'm not sure if you call it a degree, in, so this is on her LinkedIn page. If you see at the very top, I screenshotted this January 28th of 2026, okay? And she had posted it 1 month prior, and she had just officially got this certification, CISSP, something with computer programming, a high-level certification, and she even says, I knew I could study for a year and pass an exam, okay? Now, she claimed that she had a traumatic brain injury a year prior to this too. So throughout this whole time that she's dealing with a new traumatic brain injury, she is also studying for this thing. Now I don't know what this program is. I'm not into computer programming. I don't know anything about that. So I have to look it up. Certified Information Systems Security Professional is what CISSP stands for. Is a premier vendor neutral mid to senior level cybersecurity certification offered by ISC2. Experience needed minimum of 5 years of full-time paid work experience in 2 or more of 8 domains. And then they A 4-year college degree or an approved authorized credential can waive 1 year of experience. The exam is a 3-hour exam, and it consists of 100 to 150 questions. I think that discrepancy is based on how you answer and how well you do. You can have maybe 100, or you can have all the way up to 150, and maybe you fail after you get past 150. You have a score. Passing is between 700 and 1,000 points. The exam costs $750. And they say professionals with a CISSP certification earn on average $120,000 to $124,000 a year. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So why am I still talking about her? Well, because, again, I don't believe her. And she overshadows other people that I do believe. So I don't know if you remember a woman by the name of Marimar Martinez. Well, I did a little clip about her too a while ago, not knowing what I was including in that video. The video was about ICE agents being assaulted. And here's a clip about Martinez.
Same day, 2 Chicagoans were charged after allegedly using their vehicles to ram into federal vehicles. The Department of Homeland Security says there was another alleged vehicle ramming incident just blocks away, and that one was caught on video. Tonight, the Department of Homeland Security says there were 2 separate alleged incidents of drivers using their vehicles to ram into other vehicles with federal agents. According to a federal criminal complaint, Marimar Martinez and Anthony Ian Santos Ruiz used multiple vehicles to strike a vehicle driven by federal agents in Brighton Park yesterday. Prosecutors say Martinez and Ruiz used their vehicles to box in the agent's car. Court documents say an agent, unable to move his vehicle, got out and fired about 5 shots at Martinez. DHS says yesterday Martinez allegedly attempted to run over agents and was armed with a semi-automatic weapon. Martinez drove off, but paramedics found her at a repair shop about a mile away from the scene. An ambulance took her to the hospital where her gunshot wounds were treated. Ruiz also drove away, but prosecutors say police found him and his vehicle at a gas station about a half a block away. Prosecutors say the 2 were allegedly part of a convoy that followed agents after a CBP operation.
So they were part of a convoy, I guess. I don't think it was planned. It was something she said that she saw ICE agents. She's Hispanic. She's first generation Hispanic. And she decided that she was going to follow them and yell out to people. La migra, I think is the term, warning them that ICE was in town. ICE was around. Now, I don't think her behavior was good. I don't think she was doing anything illegal, but she was probably bordering on harassing them. But she and this other guy, they didn't know each other as far as I know before this. They started following because they wanted to follow and then shout and identify or warn people that they were there. Okay, so the Border Patrol agents claim that they were boxed in, that Martinez actually rammed their vehicle, and that she was in possession, or she had a semi-automatic handgun. Well, it turns out they lied, and she didn't ram them, they rammed her. And then when she decided to drive around them, officer or agent Exum got out of the driver's side of the vehicle as she was driving around, and he fired 5 shots at her as she was just trying to drive around his vehicle. He hit her with all 5 rounds. He sends a text message later on that says, "I fired 5 rounds. I put 7 holes in her." What's really scary about that is that Agent Exum had a body camera, but was not using it. It was not activated. Another agent in the vehicle the back seat passenger was running his body camera. And that's how we know what actually happened, is because of that video. Now, it took him a long time her attorney to get them to give up this video. But first, let me compare her testimony, because she was sitting right next to Alia Raman when they were testifying before Congress. Let me just compare her testimony to Alia's testimony.
Before I begin, I would like to take a moment to express my gratitude. Thank you, Chairman, for giving me the opportunity to be here today, for taking the time to hear my testimony. I give thanks to God. He has been a constant presence in my life and the source of my strength. Without him, I wouldn't be here standing. I am a living testimony of his grace. Esto es para toda mi gente inmigrante. My name is Marimar Martinez. I am a first-generation Mexican-American. As a survivor of this administration actions, as an advocate for those who do not have a voice, those that are pleading for justice, living in fear, and those who are asking for meaningful change and accountability. I come from a beautiful family full of immigrants. I am proud of my roots. I am born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, where I learned the values of resilience, community, respect, love, and hope. Those lessons have shaped me since childhood and continue to guide me through my adult life. On October 4, 2025, those values were tested when my life was nearly taken by my own government. This testimony is my attempt to give voice to an experience that words struggle to hold, but silence cannot justify. On Saturday, October 4, 2025, I woke up tired but committed to doing the fall cleaning I promised myself I would do that day. After 2 hours, I had successfully filled an entire bag of good quality clothes and shoes I wanted to take to donate to my local church. After a quick shower and a cup of coffee, I put the bag of clothes in the back of my car and headed towards the church. For the next 15 to 20 minutes, I followed these Border Patrol agents through my neighborhood, honking my horn, shouting out.
So I cut it off there, but she saw them, and she identified them as Border Patrol, and she decided that she was going to follow them, honk her horn, and warn people. Again, I don't like her behavior, but it's not illegal.
Now, La Migra, to warn my neighbors about the presence of these agents who have been terrorizing our community over the past few weeks. As I did this, my neighbors start standing on the porches and sidewalks, joined in on this spontaneous life alert system and began setting off their car alarms to warn other neighbors. As the Border Patrol vehicle turned on Kedzie Avenue, I continued to beat my horn and warn my community. As we approached the intersection of 39th and Kedzie, my vehicle was 2 to 3 feet to the left of the Border Patrol vehicle. He started to swerve into my lane as he was driving. I made eye contact with the driver of the Border Patrol vehicle and watched as he turned the steering wheel once again to his left and sideswept my vehicle. I immediately froze, slammed on the brakes, and stopped my car. The Border Patrol vehicle stopped just 1 to 2 car lengths ahead of me. It seemed like time stopped. I knew from watching the news coverage of other Border Patrol encounters in Chicago that I was in danger. I watched the vehicle of Border Patrol agent killing Silverio Villegas Gonzalez just 3 weeks prior. I knew I had to get to safety before I was dragged from my car and likely beaten or killed. I drove forward and went around the Border Patrol agents, who jumped out of his car and pointed his gun at me. I moved to the far left lane, striking the curb on the far left side of Ketsi. The next thing I knew, I felt a burning sensation in my arms, legs, and that I had been shot by pepper balls, which I also seen these agents fire at people in our community. As I continued to drive past the Border Patrol agents, I could hear my back passenger window shatter, and I felt bullets continue to pierce my body. As I attempted to drive to a safe location, I began to feel lightheaded. I looked down and I noticed blood gushing out of my arms and legs, and I realized I'd been shot multiple times. As I became lightheaded, I became worried I would pass out and endanger other drivers on the road. I managed to drive a mile from where the incident happened, and I pulled into a parking lot of a mechanic shop, and I called 911. I told the 911 operator that Border Patrol agents had just shot me and I needed help. I recall some of the workers from the shop sitting me down in a chair as I was waiting for help, but I was losing this battle. I saw my life flash before me and slowly began to think this was the end for me. I still felt dizzy. I was not able to fully process what had happened to me. After being at the hospital for less than 3 hours, I was discharged from the hospital and took custody of the FBI. As we left the hospital, I was escorted out through the back in a wheelchair. I observed over dozens of Border Patrol agents waiting outside the hospital. One of the agents came up to me with his cell phone and took a photograph of me. It was the same agent who had previously kept coming in and out my room, and I had to repeatedly tell him to leave. I told him I did not consent for him to photograph me, but he did not care. It still haunts me that this agent has my photo on his phone. Was this the agent that shot me? Was this a trophy for him? I was next taken to the FBI building for further processing because they rushed me out of the hospital so quickly the blood started soaking through the bandages. I heard the agents talking about how the jail will not accept me in this current condition. I begged the agents to take me to a different hospital to give me proper medical care. Seeing me stand in a pool of my own blood, they were concerned about my health. One of the kind FBI agents brought a bag of additional bandages and worked quickly to pour more dressings over my bloody bandages. The FBI agents agreed to take me to a different hospital where my wounds were treated again, and I received additional medical care before being released back into law enforcement. Before being released back to law enforcement custody the following day. The agents took me from the second hospital to the federal detention center in downtown Chicago. I had never even had a parking ticket before, and now I was sitting in federal detention center.
Okay. So everything that she says there is true. And I know it's true because the FBI did an investigation. The officer who shot him, Officer Exum, admits that he ended up making contact with her vehicle, and that she at no point did Marimar contact his vehicle, that they were following. They were aggressively following, Miss Martinez was not doing what I would say is the right thing. Her behavior was not something that I would condone. But right and legal are different, and I don't know that she was doing anything illegal. At that point, I don't know that she was obstructing anything. She was following them. She was harassing them. And she got shot. Now, here is some information. So here is her being checked in, or after being booked in. Oh, I don't want it to replay here. There. So, like attempted murder, they charged her with. Attempted murder. She was shot 5 times. 2 of the bullets were through and throughs, which means they each made 2 holes, an entrance wound and an exit wound. And she had 7 holes in her body from being shot. And they rushed her out of the hospital so that they could put her in jail. And were trying to charge her with attempted murder of a federal agent. Well, then the body camera was finally released.
This newly released body camera video helped undermine the government's version of events in the October shooting of Marimar Martinez in Chicago. This is someone who the government claims rammed them and has repeatedly referred to her as a domestic terrorist. The video tells a different story.
We are boxing.
It shows the agent turning his steering wheel toward Martinez, which is proof, as her attorney says, that it was the agents that rammed her, not the other way around. In the lead up to the collision, this newly released body camera video helped undermine the government's version of events in the October shooting of...
Let me stop this and try and do it again. This is a drawing that the agents made when they were being interviewed by the FBI, showing that they claimed that they were stuck behind. They were, in fact, boxed in. They had vehicles in front of them, and then Martinez was on this side, on the left rear corner, and then Luis was straight behind them. So there's the front of their vehicle right there, the agent's vehicle. There's no cars in front of them. So there you go. It's hard, you know? I mean, 20 years in law enforcement, this kind of stuff shouldn't happen, but it does, because cops are humans too, and we're just a pool of the public. And so there are some bad people who get in our profession as well. And so it's not really that hard for me to call them out, talk about it, because that's not what we do. That's why I talk about it. That's not appropriate. This shouldn't happen. And when this happens, we need to call it out and say what it is. Now, you know, additionally, obviously he got a lot of support from his boss and all the way up the chain, it sounded like. And, you know, I would read into that. For many years, we in law enforcement would always say the investigation's open and active, we can't talk about it, and the media would run wild with whatever they could come up with, whatever witness statements they could come up with that were often negative, because use of force is negative. It's not fun. It's not fun to see use of force being used on somebody. It's not pretty. Even when it's done by the book and justified, it's not pretty. And so when a justified use of force is then said, hey, there's an active investigation, we can't talk about it, the media runs wild, the witnesses say that things looked bad, and we had a lot of problems with that. That happened, you know, things like the Brown shooting, for example, was a big one. And so I think we're on the other side of that. We have an administration who is overly positive for law enforcement, overly supportive, and that's negative too. You know, I don't want support for bad cops. I don't want them propped up. I don't want, you know, this guy was received all sorts of praise right away when nobody knew anything about it. There wasn't any body camera video. I think they knew that the guy who fired the shots didn't have his body camera on. And so who knows when they actually were able to see the body camera video from the guy in the back. But can you imagine? I mean, I am picturing this like this goes down the way it went down, and Martinez dies. And Agent Exum is a hero. They describe being boxed in. There's no investigation really to show that they weren't boxed in. You know, the defense attorney had to go out and find that video from the auto shop and from a pizza place or whatever that showed not only that they weren't boxed in, but that Exum, you know, rammed her or steered into her. And so he then gets out after hitting her, and they're not boxed in. And then he fires 5 shots, and he, you know, hits her. He hits her with every round. And then they claim that she was armed with a firearm. Well, she was in possession of a firearm. She had a firearm in her purse. She was a concealed carry permit holder. She never waved it around. She never pointed it at anybody. They didn't know that she had it until they did a search warrant on her vehicle after the shooting. And they admit in court that she did not point it at anybody. They didn't even see her with the handgun. So, and then apparently I don't know if he was told, Agent Exum was told to leave the area. He drove that vehicle that he was in 1,000 miles away. For what reason, I'm not sure. If he was cleared and they said, we got more work to do out on the East Coast somewhere, or what, but he drove that vehicle. So the handling of the shooting was a problem too. But so there you go. That's my issue with this. Alia Raman gets all this attention. She gets all this attention for being pulled out of that vehicle. Again, not nicely pulled out. Use of force, absolutely. Not pretty. But you can see that she could have driven away at the end there, and she chose not to. You can see that she knows what they're saying because she says it back to them and articulates that this man told me that he would break my window. You can hear her in her testimony. She gets real amped up and real loud because she has to sell this story, right? Martinez was cool and calm. The story, it was her story. She didn't have to yell. She didn't have to scream to make people believe it. It happened. She was shot 5 times. And she was almost killed. I mean, the attempted murder charge should be on Agent Exum, in my opinion. And then Alia, you see her in her interview, in her initial interview there on CNN, where she's joking around and she laughs and she rolls her eyes. And she is getting all the attention. Now, Martinez's case started back in October, and because they lied about it, and the news reported the facts as were reported to them by Border Patrol, I guess everybody thought that it was justified. And they just were going about their day. And that's what really irks me, is that she could have been killed. I mean, what if she died? Then it would have, Agent Exum would have executed her and gotten away with it and been called a hero. And thank God the agent in the back had his camera on. Thank God she had an attorney. Thank God she lived. Thank God she lived so this story could go forward, and so we could get this bad agent off the road. I support law enforcement. I am law enforcement. I support ICE. ICE isn't perfect. That Metro surge was a mess and was likely too aggressive. But I supported the fact that there were tons of illegal aliens in Minneapolis and the surrounding area, lots of them really bad people that we needed to get off the streets. I supported all of that. I don't support the use of force that is excessive, and in this case was premeditated. I mean, he set it up. I don't know if he was calling on the radio. If you heard that in that video, he was saying we're boxed in. Well, the agents in the car can see that they're not boxed in. They can see out the front windshield that they're not boxed in. So I don't know if he was calling on the radio to set that up, to stage it so that, hey, we were boxed in. I'm interested to see what happens to Agent Exum. Okay, that's it for now. I'm Steve Loomis with Walking That Mile.